I'm delighted today to be here with Anthony Bodin, who's the Managing Director of Comnicate Media, one of the many companies that Anthony's been involved over the years. 2007 you won an iAwards.
Yes, thank you, John. I guess it was one of those things where you, to put it candidly, you whack in an application, you hope for the best. We had some quite innovative technology. We had a couple of guys that came out of a research centre, so we thought that there was some substantive IP there, albeit not protected. But we also thought that it was interesting to benchmark ourselves against, what other organisations were doing, and so on that basis we thought, well, we should put in an application and see how we go.
So comparing yourself with others was a principal driver?
I think so. That, and I think also the opportunity to revisit not necessarily a business plan from the perspective of execution, but really the reason for why we were doing it and how we stood up.
And how big was the company in those days?
It was a grand company of 5 people, but again, the advantage of online, if you looked at our website, we would have been somewhere between Microsoft and IBM in size. So I think the validation of us as a company was very important. So that was really, I think, one of the other drivers for it too. But there was a lot of interesting byproducts that came out of it too.
I bet there were, and I want to go into those in a moment. But tell me, where is the company today?
Well, we won the iAward, and then one of the things that we thought we'd do is go across to Vegas, the place of dreams, I guess, and there was a trade show over there called Interop. So we went there and we met a whole heap of people. Just on 12 months later, we got an email literally out of the blue from a VC based in Boston saying, guys, we've just raised $100 million. We're finding a home for it. Can you give us a hand? So I must say our experience of, dealing with the VCs was just one of just out of the blue. That was our bluebird, as it were. The company's subsequently gone on to raise another $8 million. It's now based in the US. There's more than 100 employees. I'm simply a shareholder of that business, and it continues to grow in I think, a pretty interesting space.
Anthony, this is a great story. When you think back on it, when you reflect on this, and you think in terms of iAwards, in the total mix of the marketing involved in that, where would you say that iAwards fitted in?
Look, I think that for us, there was probably 3 or 4 key things that we did in terms of going back to getting credibility. One was getting an award, and frankly, an iAward is the best that you can get in Australia. Then I think having somebody on as a board of director or a board of advisors with some credibility. Then I think it's securing a few key customers, securing distribution, both domestically and internationally. And I think if you put it down to those 4 things, putting aside the issue of funding, they were really the cornerstones of the business moving forward. So pretty simple when you think about it, but one thing leads to another. You have an award, and then you get a board of advisor that sees the award and says, that's a great business, so they get involved. Then you see a distributor that sees the iAward and a good person as a board of advisor member, and so they join on, and so you get this snowball. But the key thing is you've got to start with a small snowball and push it down the hill. And it can be one of many things, but for us, I think, ironically enough, it was the iAwards.
Can you pass on any comments to future nominees, current nominees?
I think and it goes back to the question of an elevator pitch, it's having a clear, concise vision of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. And I think it doesn't apply to just the iAwards. I think it applies to any customer presentation, to any engagement with professionals that you might be willing into the organisation. So you've got to practice. You've got to think beforehand about this is a presentation, and you can make it as important or as least important as you want.
The outcome for the company in terms of what difference it made in the life of customers.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, of course, the iAwards are industry specific in Australia, and it's not like the Logies or the Academy Awards. But you can say to somebody, and of course nodding, we won the iAwards, and you'll see them nodding back, and then they'll almost through osmosis start to think, well, this is really important, and they'll believe it too.
And as you say, it's part of a total mix. And part of that total mix was the winning of a Commercialization Grant. In those days, Comet, wasn't it?
That's right, and you raise a very good point, thank you. And that goes back to the credibility process, and we nominated for, and successfully I should say on a couple of occasions, for some commercialising emerging technology, which gave us the opportunity of doing things that were perhaps right on the edge of the R&D spectrum that we wanted to do. And again, in terms of talking to customers, it was all part of this blend of things that we did for credibility.
So iAwards fits into part of the puzzle, it's part of the solution, and Anthony's been a great demonstration of how, in his company, how that can be achieved. And if we've got potential nominees out here for, if not this year, next year, what would you be saying to them if they're faltering and wondering whether they should do this?
Look, I think for the sake of a few hours of hard work, you know, over an evening, just give it a crack. And I was saying before, you just got to kiss those frogs and you'll get a princess every now and again. And I think that's it. You just got to go hard. Yeah.
And I guess your view, I mean, you said it before, but your view for those that perhaps wouldn't win, what would you say there?
I think we were certainly not going to be a winner, and surprise, surprise, we were. In our mind, we did it as a process, as we've said. So I think that so often we spend time just working in the business, and I think things such as the iAwards are opportunities to work on the business and to stand back, take a breath and see things from somebody else's perspective. Anthony,
we're all volunteers in the iAwards, and thank you for volunteering your time today. The voice of a past winner is far, far more potent message than anything we could possibly pass on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. It's been a pleasure.